Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the
everyone. My name is Maria Chapenia. I'm from Local 2S in the Western Region, and I'm also outgoing chair of the National Women's Committee. And it is my honor and privilege as chair of the committee to present the Joy Langan Woman of Distinction Award. The award is given to a current or retired CEP sister who through her efforts has raised awareness of women's struggles and been a mentor to women and also a leader in the movement. And for the award, there is a nomination process that we go through on the committee, and there certainly isn't a shortage of strong women activists to choose from. In fact, the committee had a very difficult decision to make this time around, as we do every time. And in the end, there was no way to narrow our choice to one candidate, and we insisted that room be made for two exemplary sisters to receive the award at this convention. So sisters and brothers, I'm so proud to say that the two recipients of this award are sisters Louise Grenier and Adrienne Paavo. I have had the opportunity to work with both Louise and Adrienne and know personally that their strength as women and their conviction for equality and justice is very deserving of this recognition. So I'll start by introducing Louise Grenier, though I'm sure many of you are going to know her. Sister Louise Grenier has been described by many of her sisters and brothers as an inspiration for all women. From the first day she was hired as a Bell Canada operator, Sister Louise became a social advocate for women's rights, not only in the workplace, but also in her community. Her intolerance for injustice grew quickly, and it didn't take long for her to become an outspoken leader who wasn't afraid to take on this corporate giant. Aside from her undeniable activism, Sister Louise has had many firsts. In 2000, she was elected the first female secretary-treasurer of Local 84Q, now known as Local 8284. This includes a large component of Bell technicians. And this gave her an opportunity to mentor young women in local activism. And her second first was to being the first woman elected to the Quebec rank-and-file board over and above the one seat reserved for women. She proudly served on the National Executive Board until 2012, when she decided to change careers and joined the Quebec Federation of Labour as one of their coordinators. While at the board level, Sister Louise was appointed to the National Women's Committee, on which we work together, the Structures Committee, the Exoneration Committee, and the Barriers Committee, who looked at the challenges facing equality groups in our union. One of Sister Louise's greatest challenges and achievements was the 15-year pay equity battle against Bell Canada. Her tireless and selfless dedication to this cause resulted in a huge pay equity agreement worth well over $104 million for about 4,500 telephone operators. Of course, this is an achievement we at CEP continue to stand very proud of. Her dedication and activism is not only reserved for the CEP, but also for her community, as Sister Louise continues to support the work of La Rue des Femmes, an organization providing assistance to homeless women in Montreal, and she sits on the consultation board for the employment of persons with disabilities. She also successfully managed 2 municipal campaigns. What makes Sister Louise such an outstanding candidate for this award is not only all of her great accomplishments, but also the manner in which she shares her good and bad experiences by using her sense of humor and goodwill to make the union a better place for all women. So brothers and sisters, please join me in congratulating Sister Louise Grenier.
It's
Bonjour, consoeurs et confrères.
Good day, sisters and brothers, members of the board, distinguished guests, brother chair. It's really an honor for me to be recognized for my work, but to be recognized by my peers is a privilege, and I'm very conscious of this fact. I would like to also congratulate my sister Adrienne, with whom I share the prize. In 1992, when I became a steward, I was not expecting what was ahead of me. But I've never had any regrets. It's thanks to this commitment to the union movement that I remained in the employment of Bell Canada. I'll have to start with my thanks by thanking my boss at the time, Francine Baby, who after 93 days in the company fired me. At that time, we had a very weak union, but two young leaders looked after my grievance, and that's how I became. I came in contact with the union. Carmen Langan was spontaneous, two true activists who worked for the operators. A few years later, I had the privilege to be taken under their wings. They became very, very precious mentors. I would like to thank them from the bottom of my heart, not only for having helped me, but also for their great friendship. From 1978 to 1982, many technological change occurred in the operator's service. The long distance had too many employees, and I went to information. What a shock. The injustices were truly rampant in that workplace. It was a truly determining moment for me. I called the local for Carmen to come and help me, and I don't know how I became steward of that office. I didn't even see it coming. Through my training as a steward, I understood that I could never be able to stand for any injustice. My brothers and sisters could count on me in order for me to defend and protect them, and that's what I did. In my case, it was truly something I had to do. During 82 to 99, after having become chief steward, I actively participated in the 1988 and 1999 strikes. It was difficult for operators at that time. During the 88 strike, I was accused of illegalities. It was really quite a difficult time for me. In 1999, that was a truly tragic year. The way Bell got rid of operators, it was truly immoral, and it will always be immoral for all of those workers, we devoted workers. They were the heart and soul of the company. They were on the front line, had been since the very creation of Bell. It was truly shameful the way they were treated. After those so-called voluntary layoffs, and I was truly outraged. I took a moment and I started thinking. I left labor relations and was nominated for secretary-treasurer. I started training in my labor council and SCEP, where I worked with Jean-Pierre Lacoste. Thank you, Jean-Pierre, for your friendship and help. It was through that training that I realized that our union work was important and enriching both for us and for all of the new stewards. In 2006, I was elected at the board, and I worked with remarkable people, and I would like to thank them. I did what I could do as best as I could while representing the members in my regions. In the past few months, you have invested all of your energy in creating a new union, and in this new entity, I hope that women, equity groups, and young workers will be able to recognize themselves and continue their work so that today our children and grandchildren can benefit from that work. I would also like to thank Michel Ouimet for his support and his loyalty towards me. Even though sometimes we weren't always in agreement, I learned a lot of you. Thank you, Michel. I sat on the National Women's Committee where I met exceptional women, women with heart. Thank you for continuing your work. Your commitment is more necessary than ever because we still are seeking equity and justice in our working places. Don't quit. You have many challenges before you. Thank to Gisèle Pajot. I learned a lot. Your wisdom helped me a lot, and thank you very much. And I hope that you will continue your mentorship with young women and young men because they will be the leaders of tomorrow. I can't leave without thanking Alain Portelance and Alain Paradis, my ex-presidents, two very precious friends. And finally, Charles Lheureux. I worked a bit with him, and we were a great team. Thank you, Richard. And I wouldn't want to forget the secretaries from our union and all of the support staff. Thank you for your help and support. And to Jasmine, Martin, thank you for your advice, your great generosity, and your friendship over the past 30 years. Yesterday, it was the last day for me at Bell Canada. What a beautiful way of finishing my career with my Labour family around me, with my mother, and with Carmen Lantin, my friend and mentor, who are in the room with me today. And now, as coordinatress at the QFL for United Way in Montreal, I will try to also working for those workers. Thank you for the committee who chose me. Thank you for the CEP for having allowed me to contribute and make a difference with our members in solidarity. Thank you again.
Thank you, Louise. The second woman that I have the pleasure to introduce to you is Adrienne Paavo. Adrienne Paavo is described as a teacher, a role model, a friend and a co-worker, but especially a mentor to many women she has inspired over the years. Sister Paavo is one of those rare people who embody the values they say they believe in. Her social activism began as a student at the University of Saskatchewan, where she participated in the political struggles of the day as a writer. And in the late 80s, Sister Adrienne fought feverishly against the right-wing agenda of the Grant Devine government. As the editor of a monthly magazine that was widely considered Saskatchewan's voice of the social justice movement, Sister Adrienne helped shape the resistance to the attack on women's rights, human rights, workers' rights, and public service. International solidarity has always been central to Sister Adrienne's activism. She worked to bring down apartheid and build solidarity with racialized workers. Her dedication to solidarity work culminated with her taking a position in the early 90s with CUSO in Mozambique, where her work focused on supporting international solidarity connections between Mozambique and Canadian unions. Sister Adrienne empowers union women activists to take on responsible roles in their own unions and communities. Her ongoing work with the Prairie School for Union Women exemplifies her commitment and contribution to this goal. She continues to make the school a place where feminist analysis is used to frame discussions, and her strong support for the school has contributed to the long-term success of that project. Sister Adrienne has inspired numerous women in her local to feel pride in their union and to challenge all injustices, especially those that are gender-based. She has spoken out against the misuse of power and authority within the workplace, and the local has taken steps to ensure that all members, particularly women, feel free to voice their concerns. Finally, she has mentored women to take on active roles as educators within the labor movement. Through her work with the Prairie School for Union Women and other labor initiatives, she has developed close connections with younger women and inspired them to become labor movement educators. Labor sisters who have worked with her have drawn strength and empowerment from this outstanding woman of distinction. Everyone, please join me in congratulating Sister Adrienne Paavo.
I would like to thank the CEP and mostly the National Women's Committee. It's a great honor, and it's really quite okay that we shared I share this award with my sister. Our social movement need all of us, all of our work. I was raised on a small farm in Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere, as we say in English. In such a place, you understand that alone you are extremely vulnerable and that you need collective strategies in order to survive. You need to work with your neighbors and set up cooperatives and unions in order to survive and in order to improve your life.
Workers, non-unionized and unemployed workers look to unions to lead and support these collective strategies. I think it's fair to say that women in particular have long wanted some kind of a new union project, wanting more inclusive and activist unions, not because unions are seen as the enemy, but precisely because unions have the history, the principles, and the potential to change the world. CEP is on the verge of an amazing opportunity. How often do you get a chance to reinvent yourself? But what a heavy responsibility, too, with all of us inside and outside of the House of Labor watching with great hope and with impatience when I think of all of the struggles we face just on this continent alone. I want twice as much, and I wanted it yesterday. I accept this award with great humility because in the short time of this convention, I've had a chance to meet only a few of the other women delegates, and my goodness, the wisdom and the experience and the accomplishments that you bring mean that this stage should be packed with us all. Thank you again. Thank you again for this great honor. It will help fuel my determination to continue doing my small part as a CEP member and community activist to bring to birth a new world.